Hello, dear friends of freedom and of real democracy, of citizen participation and of truth. The truth behind the scenes here in Brussels. Today, we're going to tackle some real topical issues that are being kept behind the scenes and not brought to your attention. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the digital euro and the digital identity and what kind of new financial system and new social order could this bring with the consequences of the introduction of these new developments. Because when we talk about technology, it could be a catapult into the future, but it could also have very malicious design that will change our lives. And for this, I'm pleased to introduce our guest who will be explaining these topics and notions here today, Dr. Henrik Hagedorn. Welcome to Brussels, Mr. Hagedorn.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Mr. Hagedorn has been working in Germany, in Berlin. He's a trained physicist and an economist. He holds a PhD in economics from the University of Münster in Germany, and he has worked on topics within the Austrian School of Economics. For several years, he has also served as a professor for economics at a business school in Berlin before he joined the German parliament, the German Bundestag, and currently works as a political consultant for the Alternative for Germany. This is our special guest, and as for my part, my name is Rada Lajkova. I'm a member of the European Parliament from our Bulgarian party Revival and a member of the newest and most real European, honestly conservative political parliamentary group, Europe of Sovereign Nations. So a lot is happening. There are developments around the digital euro and the digital ID. And as far as I know, 3 out of 4 citizens aren't even aware that this is being put forward here in Brussels. So, Henrik, should we start with the very basics right away? What is the digital euro? Is it a game changer? How is it going to look like? Is this fake news? Does it really exist?
Well, it doesn't exist yet, but it will exist soon. I think we can say that. And it is definitely something very new. That's and as you say, most people probably have not heard about it, or at least don't quite know what's ahead. When something new is coming up, then we always have a lot of questions, right? Is this actually a good thing? Do we need it? Is it a threat? Is it a danger? We don't know. What do you think?
I think that it really depends on the way that it is designed, and we're going to look into specific scenarios, but what we could certainly say is that it is going to bring more power to the European institutions, for the European bureaucracy, which is, as we know, non-elected, as we know, very powerful, having its control over all European member states. We really have to ask ourselves, do we want to bring the European Central Bank into such a position of power where it can really track down all the online activity with the digital ID, which could be linked to the digital euro, as we can show from documents, official documents of the European Union, and with the digital euro, which is going to make all the transactions and all the consumer behavior traceable, and in this way also available to be seen by payment service provider, which is connected directly to the European Central Bank.
That's exactly right. I think we have to emphasize this. It all depends of how it is going to be used. There's always dangers and possible developments, positive developments that come out of such things. I think we have to emphasize this, of course.
Yes.
The main question is, do we want to concentrate all that information into the public domain in Brussels, which I think there's good reasons to be skeptical about. Yeah, of course,
yes.
It depends also on how it is going to be used and how it's going to play out afterwards. There's also open questions. We don't know exactly what's ahead of us. But the very fact that that all this information is concentrated in one place makes me skeptical. Because
Yes.
I'm a big supporter of decentralized information and competition. And in this case, we have a monopoly. We put a monopoly in place of instead of competition.
And it could very quickly lead to total surveillance, because you come from Germany. In your country, you have something which is called a digital minister or digital ministry. We don't have that in my country. But as far as I heard, they want to put forward a digital identity that is linked to every German citizen. And as we know, the most powerful European state, when you do something in Germany, then the European Union follows. And then all the member states have to follow suit with the regulations and the rules that they put here in Brussels. So what is this digital identity that can be linked to every person? This sounds a little bit like something from a sci-fi film.
It does sound so, but the problem is not so far away anymore. In fact, what they're planning to do is to have one digital code, you could say, that connects to your personal identity. It's connected to your personal biometric data, as well as to your passport, travel documents, university diplomas, and possibly medical data. Everything should be stored in one folder, or you could say one digital identity, and that should also be connected to your digital wallet. That includes your digital money. So, in fact, we see a lot of concentration of information. Everything that had been dispersed over so many different providers in the past shall now be concentrated in one place. And that is, of course, also a bit dangerous. Yeah? In the first place, people will say it's also convenient. It's very convenient to have
Yes.
it all centered.
Yes.
It's all available, and you can basically exchange it with everybody instantly, and you don't have to care so much about these things. But the problem is that you also might lose control. And
Especially if something goes wrong, who can I turn to? Who is going to be responsible? Is it the payment service provider? Is it the government? I mean, this is serious transformation in the way that we operate. In this digital wallet, the way you put it, the way I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you could have all data that's related to your person, like passport, credit card, even vaccinations, if something like the pandemic or something else comes up. So how about privacy? If something goes wrong, if there is a breach, who is going to be responsible for this?
I don't know. Yeah, the problem is that nobody really knows.
Yes.
And it's very hard to make anybody accountable if something goes wrong. We know that. It's always the case in politics. The advantage of having things decentralized is that you're actually more resilient. Yeah, because if one provider of any information where you have stored some piece of your information goes bust or abuses your data, then it's still only a part of your data that's being abused, and not the entire set. And here you put it into one basket, and that bears at least a certain risk. Now, there may be people out there who trust the government very much, who have very much trust in the government. And of course, our government officials will always say that your data are secure and nothing can happen to them. How can we be really sure? And we see that in other countries, like China, yeah, where these things are already in place, combined with like mass surveillance with cameras and everything, that this information is used for a social credit system, for a social scoring system, and that definitely is a threat to personal freedoms. I mean, China is not a free society in that sense, and I think we should not develop in this direction. We don't want to go down that road, do we?
It really doesn't sound like a very free society, what you're describing.
It isn't. It definitely isn't. And even the Chinese know that there aren't. Yeah? The Chinese have made their peace, you could say. They accept. And China is a different country. I don't want to tell them what to do or not to do. But I think that it's not a model that fits for Europe and for our traditions of freedom that we have and our ancestors have fought so much for. Right?
Exactly. Freedom is the key word here. And what it really leads me to assume is that it's really not going to be just the government, because if we cannot ensure 100% that this data is secure, then we know that companies obviously have business interest to know consumer behavior, to be aware of what do we buy, when do we buy it, how much do we pay. So even there could be different prices for different consumers. So this really sounds like freedom is very much in danger, and even bringing into the conversation things like the social credit system in China, which of course doesn't exist at the moment in the European Union. But then when we look at the ideology behind all the European programs, behind the funding of NGOs that have to indoctrinate people to believe and act in certain ways, then it's really not very far-fetched to assume that a sort of social credit system would be then applicable with us here in Europe, in the most free continent that, as you said, our ancestors were fighting for this for centuries. But what is the social credit system actually?
The social credit system, as we have it in China, is a system that rewards you or punishes you, depending on whether you behave well or not, as the government wants you to behave. I mean, if you perform criminal actions, then you will be punished. If you serve as a voluntarily in a social institution, then you may get extra points. The problem is that such a system can be abused. I mean, we saw it through the pandemic, where we had lockdowns and all this. It was definitely used against the population, very much so. And there, then you are in a setting where you cannot escape. This is really, you could say, the digital dystopia that we're looking at. We should not say that this is really around the corner. It's not something that we will see today or tomorrow in Europe. That's probably, we should not be misunderstood here, but we should be very clear about the fact that this architecture can be used for that purpose. And that's the risk that we're seeing. I think we both agree on that.
Yes, and not only we, but most European citizens obviously show that they don't have trust in the current system, that they want a big change for the leadership in the European countries and also in the European institutions. And for this reason, our parliamentary group, along with the other conservative groups, is voting for a vote of non-confidence on Ursula von der Leyen.
You're totally right. The political opposition against that system that the EU is trying to impose on the entire continent is rising. Everywhere in Europe you have opposition movements that are getting stronger and stronger. And we also see that the system that is being challenged acts in a more and more repressive way against these opposition movements. We see that people who are critical of the government, they're being charged by trials, they're being unbanked, they lose their bank accounts and all that. All these things are already happening, and so that's really not a sign of a working democracy and a state of law, as we say that. But and so that should make us very suspicious that if in such a situation they're putting an infrastructure into place that would give them even more possibilities to act in this way.
Precisely, and it's not even only individuals, but as you very correctly mentioned, we have had cases of people who are not supporting the type of policy that the current Ursula von der Leyen Commission believe we should go forward with, and then all of a sudden their bank account is closed. And as a matter of fact, very bizarre, the moment I became an MEP, one of my German bank accounts just closed, and they didn't even give me explanation for this. So it is very much clear to me why this happened, because this is a Berlin bank based in Berlin, the most liberal, neoliberal city in Europe, perhaps. Don't get me wrong, I really appreciate and love the city of Berlin, but you have this kind of subculture there that is all pervasive. And the moment I became an MEP, they started to inquire, and I did provide all the information of what exactly am I doing here and who am I representing, because this is all in the documents. This is what banks standard-wise ask from you when your situation changes. But then this one, they didn't even explain, and they closed my account from one day to the other. And I have to tell you, I had personal consequences for that, because I was relying on my money, which is on this bank account.
What happened to the money?
They did transfer it back after a couple of weeks. Upon my follow-up, it was not the issue that they kept the money, but they kept me without access to my money, without a definitive warning. It was just gone, no access. So this has not a lot to do with with my citizens' rights, does it? Because they're a service provider, and they're obliged to give me precise information on that.
It's at least shocking that it happens. I mean, they are a private institution. I mean, they will always recline to civil law and say, well, we have the right to choose with whom we trade. But it still should make us very, very concerned that this is actually happening. Yeah? I mean,